one of the chapters, one of the biggest things in there was you opening up about your childhood. It's quite weird going back to it now because we've just gone about your career, and it would have been nice to have, picked things out in your career which you've done knowing this, but I thought we just talk about it the way it came out, and that's your the abuse you had as a child. Can you go into it in any way? Can you explain to us how it happened and how you dealt with it?
So my mum used to work at Tooks, which was a bakery, so she always used to work really late on the Fridays, and I always used to stay around my nana's on a Friday night. I used to always be at my nana's, to be honest. And she used to live with her brother Kenny, who was the one who abused me. And I'll never forget. I used to have a thing with denim jeans. So if my mum or aunts or dads or nans or anyone used to have like a denim jeans, it was like the feel on my cheek. I used to put my head down on their lap and out for the count. And I can remember it was me and my great uncle. We were watching TV. He had some jeans on and I fell asleep on his lap. And then next thing I'm awake and petrified to open my eyes because he's obviously fondling me down below. And then it just seems like it's going on eternity, and I finally shift up and trying to stop, and he kept trying to shush me, and obviously I was keen into my chocolate sweets, and he was like, if you just let me finish what I'm doing, I'll buy you loads of sweets and give you loads of money, and it's still going on. And obviously eventually get him to stop, and I'm like, I'm going to go to bed now. And I go straight out into my nan's landing. And I can remember my mum's house number back in the day. The number, it was 214576. And I can remember ringing it, and I was going to tell her. So it's like literally, it's ringing, and you're like, pick up. And as soon as she picks up, he comes out of the door and just stands there like that going. So I was just like, Mum, how was work? Can you come and get me in early in the morning? I don't want to be here. She's like, yeah. And then I remember going upstairs, and my uncle, we call him Dewey. He's called Kieron as well, and he's in bed with his girlfriend. And I just go into his room and just start crying my eyes out. And they were the first two people I told. And he was like, don't worry, this will never happen to you again. Don't tell no one. And when people read that kind of story in the book, I'm worried for my uncle, because it was like he was trying to protect, but he wasn't. It was because of my dad, because he knows that if that were to come out, my dad would be doing a life stretch in prison. My dad would have just
Killed him.
Yeah, just crushed his skull into the floor hundreds of times. So he would have done something. So, but the scariest part of it was that because no one knew it happened, not the actual what happened that night, but me going to my nan's and then being in that room with him on my own, and he's then coming up to me going, hey, and like, it was just like mental torture.
After that?
Yeah, so like I couldn't keep saying I can't go to my nan's, so I always tried to never be left in a room, but sometimes we'd always go outside my nan's back door, and he'd always be in the kitchen where the back door is. So if I'm going out with my mates, he'd be there lingering. It was just, so that mental torture that went on for 2 or 3 years of not knowing when you're going to be isolated with him again, and just like a sexual predator. It was just it was horrible. And like you said, I'm not told no one. I didn't speak to my Uncle Dewey and his wife. And I'm trying to process this. I used to get ridiculed by the family because I used to end up in my mum's bed, at the bottom of my mum's bed. I used to sneak in when she's asleep and curl up in a ball. And my family used to ridicule me, saying, oh, you sleep with your mum and you're 14, 15. But it was just because if I woke up in the night, I was shitting myself that he could get me again. Again, people used to ridicule me about my mood swings. It was absolutely, it was, like you said, for, obviously you'd think the actual sexual act would be the thing that was the most traumatic. It wasn't. It was the traumatic of not knowing when he could pounce at any time. And like you said, for me to deal with this on my own and not tell anyone, to play for your country, to succeed, but unbeknown to me was all the traits that I was developing. Stubborn, a fuck you attitude, can't show weakness. That was a big one. I couldn't show weakness, couldn't let strangers in. I had real trust issues, like my mates could bring a friend in who they've known for years, and because I didn't know him, he must have thought what a fucking obnoxious prick I was, because I'd just be like, I don't know. I'm not letting my guard down, because the last time I let my guard down, this is what happened to me. So, yeah, it was a secret for nearly 20 years of my life. And it was just by chance that, QPR Joey Barton got this guy, Peter Kay, in from the Sport and Chance Clinic. And he could tell something was not right with me, and he kept probing, and then I let it out. And I always respect him for that, because he showed me the why I am as a person, because I used to be hard on my older son, but he was... So every time he showed vulnerability when he was 11, 12, I used to snap. Never hit my kids or never been a disrespect for them, but I used to be like, fucking man up in that. But obviously when I was 11 and 12 and I showed vulnerability, I was taken advantage of. He showed me...
You don't want that, yes.
He showed me so many things of, like you said, not showing weaknesses, eye contact, and it helped me explain some of the things in my life where I've never really let someone in 100%. The only people I'd say I'd let in 100% was family, and that fucked me. That got me fucked as well. So I even started questioning family members and wouldn't let anyone in. I was a loner. I'd like my own time. I could be the life and soul of a party when I was in my element and my safety bubble. But as soon as I was out that, you couldn't get two words out of me. It was...
Would you say a Kieron Dyer before the abuse was a total different Kieron after the abuse started?
So, again, even though he told me why I was the way, so obviously when I told my wife and my family, so they'd snap it. So like I fell out with, I didn't speak to my best mates for years and that, just over something stupid where I couldn't be the first to apologise, like on my weakness and stuff like, it's crazy. Like we talked about this of Bobby Robson, like I'm not showing I'm a weak, like it's crazy. So just because he showed me, it helped me understand. I never really had a process because I didn't really go to any more people to get really help. So it was like my family, like my missus would say, oh, you're being stubborn again, snap out of it. But it's killing me to snap out of it, if you know what I mean. It's killing me. So
I know the feeling.
So I was an improved version But it wasn't until I met Ant and Foxy where they really changed my life. And like you said, they know straight away something's up. And the way and it got to the stage that in the show it got edited, but I actually say thank you for saving my life, because I'm not a victim no more. Because if I'm a victim, then that fucking evil twat wins. If I hurt people by being stubborn or by not showing weakness and stuff, he's winning. They become victims. So that mindset is kind of helped me now where, yeah, I'm, like you said, if this Kieron Dyer would have been at 17 now,
Yeah.
start of my professional career, when you're talking about the underachieve, overachieve, I think we would have been saying I underachieved, because I think that this clarity and this stage I'm in my life, I would have fulfilled my potential and I would have been spoke about in a lot higher light. So when I say that I overachieved, yes, I overachieved, because a lot of people who deal with sexual abuse are
Gone.
homeless, fucking addicted to all sorts, fucking, yeah, like you said, they're a shell of their person. So for me to even achieve what I achieved, then I kind of pat myself in the back.
Yeah. So you should, mate.
Yeah.